I would like to hire you as my legal counsel.
I don't know. There might be a slight conflict there.
Jesus.
Just a
GNT
small
show
one.
is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. These are the voyages of the GNT show. Our continuing mission to explore Star Trek storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to Boliga, where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Boy, she
Our
loves that
annual
bitches.
fundraiser marathon. Welcome to 24 Hours of GNT 2016. Hour 10. How are we doing so far?
Thank you, Katie. You know what? Let's all give Katie a round of applause.
Yay,
And to
Katie.
answer her question,
Mike, at some point you're going to have to bring her on just so we can thank her ourselves too.
I will try.
Now, I believe the bailiff is going to call court back into session.
Yes, please.
Bailiff.
Court is
All
back.
rise.
All wise.
All right, are we back in session?
Murmur, 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 murmur.
There we go.
Shh, shh.
I have deliberated, and I have been researching this case. It was a very difficult case. I had to go all the way back to Marbury versus Madison. You know, that's a lot of work. In any event, it was somewhat difficult. It was a Solomonic type decision, so it ended up being somewhat split down the middle, and as a result, Mr. Fark is ordered to pay in coconuts, and Trek Geeks are ordered to pay in red sweaters. And the judgment of this court, of course, is final. Is if anyone is out of order, they better say it before I bang this gavel, folks.
You're out of order.
You are out of order.
Your
I'm
face
out of
is out of order.
You're out
You
of
can't
order.
handle the truth.
This whole courtroom's out of order.
order.
I
I
love
have
you,
one-
Judge.
I'm out of order. I'll have the chicken lo mein.
Yeah,
All
Anna.
right.
Yeah, Anna. I have
Yeah.
one last question. What do I do with this physical evidence? To whom should it go back? Like, does it go back to Mr. Davidson?
I think John Champion.
Or does it go back
if
to
I
Mr.
may,
Champion? Or does it go back to Mr. Fark?
if I may, I would love to put that on my wall of fame at my house. So I would love to have that back.
Oh.
And you can always make a copy, and fax it over to the court if you so desire.
Maybe you'll
Anyway.
take care of it this time.
Like I said, there are no appeals from this court. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And
Can I appeal to your beauty, Judge?
oh, you're so sweet.
Thank you.
Suck up.
Yeah. Until next time, folks. Live long, prosper, and try to stay out of trouble. And watch those coconuts. The judgment of this
You
court
got
is
told.
Bum, bum,
You just got Jespod.
bum, bum, bum.
All
This is Doug
rise.
Llewellyn, and I'm waiting outside the courtroom for the participants in today's court. Mr. Davidson, can we get you first?
So take a ride. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that anymore.
Oh.
How do you feel about the
All right, he's gonna be hauled back in. If he
I'm
doesn't.
actually very happy with the verdict. I kind of had a feeling that it would be kind of a split decision. There was no wrong on my part, and I guess the judge is saying that there was no wrong in them trying to say that I did wrong. So I guess that's maybe a discussion for another day.
Now, the question I think everyone... I think the question that our audience has is, will you continue to verbally antagonize Mr. Fark and to sing their songs?
I will no longer sing their songs. I've made that clear in other podcasts. I don't think it will be right to do that. However, my tributes to FARC will continue. FARCisms will never die. I actually thought of suspending them last week, but decided during the coconut portion of the show to bring it back, and they will continue. And I will say that I actually received a tweet from FARC himself saying that they shall continue.
I think
And one
that's
final question for
fine.
you, sir.
Yes, Nick, go ahead. Jeez.
Where were
This
you
trial
when
never
Jean
ends.
Benet was killed?
What- She's not dead. She's Katy Perry.
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
Too soon.
No, not too soon.
Oh my
Right,
Thank
god.
that
you
was
so much,
rude.
guys.
That
Thank
was
you so much.
awesome.
A lot of fun.
Thank you.
We
Thank
love you
everyone.
guys so much. Thank
Guys,
you
that
for
was
joining
awesome.
us.
You guys
love
are
you.
some great sports.
Hey, if you wanna
Thank you
stay.
for having fun with us.
Yeah,
We-
we've already tried. We've already tried
Yeah,
to keep them to stay. But before
loves-
you go, how can people hear your fabulous podcast?
Dan, since you normally do this, do you want to do this?
Wow, I get to actually do the actual contact thing here on this show instead of our own.
Well, do where they can
Sure.
find the podcast.
Yeah,
you
you
idiot.
can find the we're on Facebook, Twitter, Skype. We're at Trek Geeks. You can go to trekgeeks.com. You can check out our group on Facebook called Camp Kittimer. Join up and have fun in our great discussion. We love doing this every single week. Bill and I have a great time doing it. We love meeting new people. It was great to get together and meet you
Alright.
guys out in Vegas. And I can't wait to give
It
Fark
was.
a big juicy kiss next year in Vegas, people.
Right on.
Now, Your
Yeah.
Honor.
And Bill, you and I live near each other, and we should try to get together sometime.
We
Seriously.
absolutely should. I think that'd be fantastic.
I'm right up the road too, Your Honor.
Yeah, come on down.
Nobody cares about you, Davidson. Shut up.
No, I'd love to. I'd love to.
All
see you
right.
guys.
We do need to move forward. We do have another guest. So thank you guys so much for
We
joining us.
can't go much more backwards.
We love
Thank
ya.
you.
Good luck
Take
with
care.
the
Love
rest
you
of the
guys,
show,
too.
guys. We'll
Take
be
care.
Take
guys.
care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for the donation, guys.
Thanks
Anytime.
so much.
Thank you. Yay. Oh my
Awesome.
God, that was awesome.
I didn't think
It
it
was
was
a lot
going
of
to be
fun.
that funny, but
It was
goddamn.
that funny. It was that
Hi,
funny.
John. How are you?
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Mr. Miller.
Hello. Kapla, how are you doing?
Kapla.
I have been waiting for this.
How is everybody?
I am so excited.
We are doing well.
I have been waiting for this.
John
And
For
Jackson
100
Miller.
generations. No.
Any
Welcome,
man
by
that
the-
does not put
Go for
the
it.
Dick Van Dyke Show at the top
Oh,
of the sitcom
here we go.
list.
Uh-oh.
Your Honor,
it's,
it's back in session.
it's up there.
It's
Now,
back
you-
on again.
And what do you have as number one?
What do I have as number one?
Mhm.
At the top of the sitcom list.
Mhm.
Oh, Cheers. Good lord.
No, no.
That's
Stop it.
not even.
I have two words
not
for you
even
as to
open
how
to
that
debate.
does not make the top
Cheer,
of the list.
cheer.
Shelley Long.
Okay, yeah. No. Shelley was wonderful. It was
No,
the
no, she
pinnacle of
wasn't.
her career.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Absolutely. The Cheers was the culmination of all of the threads that started in the Dick Van Dyke Show, through Mary Tyler Moore, through Bob Newhart, through Taxi. So I mean, a lot of the talent that was on all of those shows sort of comes together and coalesces in Cheers, which is honestly, well, it's a radio show. I mean, you can turn off the screen and just listen to it and know exactly what's going on, and that's one of the things that makes situation comedies work the way they do. I mean, it goes way back to the way back. And of course, it relates to Star Trek because Paramount and well, we've got Savix in there somewhere, and who knows who else is in there. But that's I suppose our connection to Trek for today. But yeah, the sitcom debate is one that I think we've had on this show before.
Well, we started to, and then we decided to
actually,
hold
I
it
have
for another time.
a big bit to hold it for another time, and so that's right. And
That's now.
one of the cool things is I got to do a lot about classic television in a story that I've got coming out in the Planet of the Apes anthology that's coming out in January, and I think Dayton Ward's in that too, and some other Trek authors. Since the Escape from Planet of the Apes movie takes place canonically in 1973, I was able to do sort of a TV, a Hollywood kind of a story involving Cornelius and Zira and what was on in 1973, and I kind of got to go hog wild with it, and that comes out. It's called Tales from the Forbidden Zone, and that was a blast to do. You can't really include real life things like that in some universes. One namely is far away. But you could at least sort of refer to things back in regular, our universe in Star Trek to a great degree. I also did a story, a series of my own called Overdraft, in part of an interstellar war. So I kind of have fun with these things where I can.
That's so great. I'm really excited about the new anthology. How many authors are doing the Planet of the Apes work?
It's quite a few, and they sent me the cover of it a couple of days ago, and it's got everybody listed on it, and I can actually call that up right this second if my computer will function. I know it's got me. Here we go. It's Dan Abnett, Kevin J. Anderson, Jim Beard, Nancy Collins, Greg Cox,
Cool.
Andrew Gaska, Robert Greenberger. So here are some familiar names. Rich Hanley, Greg Keys, Sam Knight, Paul Kupperberg, Jonathan Mayberry. I was
Mentioned.
On a panel with him just at New York a couple of weeks ago. Bob Mayer, John Jackson. I don't know who that guy is. Ty Templeton,
Holy
Will
crap.
Murray, and last alphabetically, but first in our hearts, Dayton Ward.
Dayton Ward.
And that comes out from Titan Books, and that is, I believe, I think it's like the last week of January.
Wow. That's amazing. Nick, your beef with John though was about you guys had talking about other things other than wait, something happened. What? Wait. Oh, sorry, my dog scared me. About things other than not just yes. Did somebody say something? Am I alone here?
Not I.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Sorry,
No,
it was all trippy.
We're paying rapt attention.
Sorry, my dog is trying to steal my hamburger. Okay, was
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Was to talk about things other than Star Trek. So it was kind of cool that you got to kind of kick off from Planet of the Apes, and I have to ask you, what's your favorite Planet of the Apes film?
Now, are we including the
of
two
the
new
original.
ones?
Yeah, sure. And all of them, all together, old ones, new ones, doesn't matter.
From me, it's Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Really?
Because it's lighthearted. Well, until everybody dies. And it really gives it's Cornelius and Zira's show. I mean, it's
Zira
Kim
is
Hunter
hilarious
and
in the hotel. I love those scenes of her in the
oh,
hotel.
they're killer. They're wonderful, and that's why, as I say, the story that I wrote, I had a choice of any one of the movies to spin off from, and I said, I want to do a sort of a combination of the movie The Player with Escape from Planet of the Apes, because we do have those sequences where they're being introduced to Hollywood high society, and it was only natural that somebody would want to try and put them on TV, and of course, one of the things that's sort of meta and fun about this is that in my story, which is called Murderer's Row, that is named after the CBS Saturday Night lineup from 1973, which is regarded by many as the best, as the best nightly primetime lineup ever. And one of the shows on that lineup, Roddy McDowall actually appears in costume as Cornelius in one episode. So
Wow.
we're really very in jokey and meta in this thing, and so yeah, I enjoy that movie. Again, it's for one thing. Look, of course, the original is a classic, and we all dig it, and so we're just really talking favorite here. I have to say, in terms of a movie series calamitous ending, which is what we got in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. This movie really sort of pulls a rabbit out of the hat. In the previous movie, we destroyed everything, and here we come right back from it, and with a perfectly logical way that knits everything together. And so, it was a lot better than it had to be. Back at the time, Apjack, the company that was the production company, they were churning those things out one a year. And if you can, compare that to, what it takes to get a Star Trek movie out or a Star Wars movie out these days, one a year. Well, Star Wars is doing that now, but it's not like they're doing episode 8, 9, 10 annually. This was a really fast turnaround time on these things, and so it is remarkable that movie is as good as it is, and so it's certainly a dated film. You don't go looking at it for special effects, but yeah, if I have a choice of any of the 5 movies to just watch and have fun, that's the one.
Right on.
Very cool. We also, for our listeners who may not know, John Jackson Miller is also is a prolific author of not just Star Trek but Star Wars books as well. And but most recently, you've been doing a lot of Star Trek and a couple of Titan. You did an e-novella and a Titan novel. Well, actually, a Star Trek. I guess you would call it a TNG novel, would you not? Takedown would you call that? Would
Yeah,
you call
yeah.
that
Takedown was a TNG novel.
right?
It was generic TNG because we have it actually starts on Titan, moves to Aventine, and then Enterprise shows up. So it's all 3.
Yeah.
And likewise, with the Prey trilogy, we decided to just make Prey the brand because not only do we have Enterprise, not only do we have Titan, not only do we have Aventine, which is yet to show up, but we've also got the 1701A. So I said, look, let's just make this as short as possible, and go with Prey as the underline. And I like that anyway, because some of these books, somebody was joking about online, you get dozens and dozens of words, when you have all these different brands attached to it, where it's subheading, and then the title.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of colons.
I like the fact that Star Trek. Well, it is. More than you would find in an emergency room, I suppose. And you get into questions about, well, is this supposed to be a colon there or a hyphen? Because that's actually a stylistic, question. And it gets really confusing. And where it really hurts you is on Amazon, where Amazon just sort of randomly, decides how it's going to, what order it's going to put the words in. I think on Prey, for example, the first 2 are listed by Hell's Heart and the Jackal's Trick, and then it's got Prey, then it's got the Star Trek, and then I think the 3rd one is actually the proper title, which is Star Trek Prey, Book 3, The Hall of Heroes. But there's so many possibilities for just getting these things kind of squirrely. Uh, and the longer the title is, it doesn't fit on the screen anymore. And worse, it doesn't fit on the spine of the book.
Yeah, I've started reading the Prey series. I'm not very far into it yet, but I'm loving it so far. Getting the little bits of Klingon that's in there. I mean, there aren't a lot of books that are willing to go that far into Klingon culture, and I definitely appreciated getting getting some of that. So.
Well,
One
there's
of
a lot
the
more to come. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
You've
one
got
of
Rahansu, Nick. Lighten up.
Ross. Oh, by the way, Ross, John Jackson Miller, Ross.
Hello, Ross.
He's from Live Love
Nice to
Play,
meet-
one of our sister podcasts. No, I was just gonna say
Orange Whip,
Orange
3 orange
Whip.
whips.
Okay. Is one of the prizes in this hour's giveaway is a signed copy of the first book in the Star Trek Prey trilogy, signed by you. Thank you, John Jackson Miller, for sending that over to us. And it's going to be the giveaway, one of the giveaways in this hour, along with some other things, because I don't think we had a winner last hour, or did we?
We did have a winner last hour.
Okay, great.
Karen O'Shea was our our
Oh,
winner last hour.
Excellent. Congratulations,
Thank you,
Karen.
So she gets all kinds of stuff. Let me see real quick.
And then Mike's going to put together the prize package for this hour, which will include the Prey book.
Yes.
Now, the second
Now, without
book,
all the fanfare, Mike,
Yeah.
what are we up to as far as donations?
It's still $1,023.
That's awesome.
that's so cool. Back to Mr. Miller, however, and that is the second book in the Prey series was just released because I just got it in my hands today,
Oh, good.
which is The Jackal's Trick. It is the second in the trilogy, and the third one comes out next month.
Yep, November 29th. It is one of these things where I wrote all 3 books at once, so it sort of all connects. And you were mentioning the Klingon material earlier. There's a lot more to come, especially if you're only on chapter 7. There's quite a bit more that you're going to see. And one of the things that I also did was I called in somebody who is an expert in the Klingon language, to help make sure that I got as much as possible correct. If I got anything wrong, it's not his fault. But I knew that this was something that people cared about, so I wanted to make sure that I got that in there. We show a lot about Klingon culture in here, and we visit some people within the Klingon empire or society that we don't normally see. I was always fascinated right from when we first saw the Klingon homeworld, in what life was like there and in that society, and particularly a number of elements that did get explored in the series, like discommendation. I wanted to elaborate on and deal with. So there's quite a lot in this trilogy. Probably one of the major themes of Prey has to do with justice and punishment, and how it's practiced and how it's different, from the Klingon Empire to the Federation, and we see a number of different subplots and storylines about that.
Right on. I'm excited to jump in deeper into it. Real quick, some of the other prizes that we're going to include with your book this hour is the Starships 2017 Starship Ships of the Line calendar, and a 12-inch Riker action figure.
Oh wow!
Yay!
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So kind of getting back, the last time you were on the show, we did get to talk a little bit about Prey. I think, Nick, you missed that interview, yeah?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one where when I had gotten the new phone
That's
and the
right.
old one hadn't. Yeah.
Okay. And I know that there were some things that you wanted to kind of grill Mr. Miller on with regards to what he said the first time he was on our show. and that was kind of opening it up to pop culture in general, and talking about movies and stuff. Because the two of you seem to have a lot in common, and sometimes not so much in common with regards to your tastes in not just movies and music, but also television. So we're going to kind of open up the floor in that regard and talk a little bit about the most recent stuff. We like to keep up and on some of the more uh y- we like to keep up on TV and everything else in the geek culture because there's a lot of shows in the Busy Little Beaver production thing that we all talk about. But what new shows are out, or is there any particular show that you don't miss on a weekly basis or that you binge on Netflix or something?
Are you asking me or John?
As far as new shows, yeah,
John first.
whoever. uh, among new shows, probably the one that I'm religious about is Better Call Saul. I enjoyed the heck out of Breaking Bad, but Breaking Bad is kind of intense, and it's not exactly something that you rewatch for fun necessarily. Whereas I love the character, both the Saul character and Mike, who of course I remember from Wise Guy years ago. Jonathan Banks' character from that. Another great show from years back. And also I tend to write a lot of what Star Wars would call scoundrels. I tend to write a lot of con artists and tricksters, and certainly, well, as we see with the Jackal's Trick as the title of that second Star Trek Prey novel. That's one of the things that I enjoy writing about is characters that have something up their sleeves. And so yeah, I think among new shows, that's one. I've got a lot of stuff backlogged. The new season of Longmire just came out. I certainly have watched all of that up until then. Curiously, a lot of the shows that I find myself watching a lot of are not actually new, but they're really new in a different sense in that they've never been available before. Last night I found myself watching an episode of Man with a Camera, which was an adventure series that aired from 1958 to 1960, starring Charles Bronson as a globetrotting photojournalist. And this thing just popped on one of these Roku channels. Roku has all these different channels that just anybody who wants to can create a channel for. And I've recently started just doing a deep dive into some of these things because a lot of people have gotten shows that are either public domain or shows where nobody has called yet to complain, say that this is being ripped off. Shows that have not been in syndication in my lifetime, or at least that I have never seen. So I find myself, surfing around a lot of these old shows and sampling them. I never would have known that or believed that Charles Bronson was playing this action hero on American TV back in the 50s. That I probably knew it on paper, but I had just never seen what he had done before.
Interesting.
That I had never heard of the show before at all. I'm kind of like, wow, that sounds. Actually, I was gonna say that sounds like a really cool show that could be
Yeah,
remade.
there's a Roku channel that I think launched a week ago, and it's called Old School Television, and
Huh.
this is one of just hundreds of channels that are on this thing, and a lot of them have just really awful TV shows or awful movies. A lot of them specialize in what they used to call grindhouse or the movies that you would not see in the bigger theaters back in the 70s and 80s. But and I'm not really a horror movie guy, so I a lot of that I just end up skipping. But yeah, certainly, getting to see some of these old shows that, and I just wonder where the heck they found some of them. But it's better than anything. It's free, so it's so I like checking out a lot of these things. Especially one of the things is you'll discover uh who is there's a lot of guest stars in these shows that you just never would have expected to see, and you'll find that there are writers on some of these things. Roddenberry, wrote for Have Gun Will Travel. You'll find a lot of people like that that turn up in these things, and you might not know that from the Wikipedia or the IMDb credits or anything like that, but they turn up. One of the craziest things, and again, one of my weird obsessions is I collect old TV guides, so I'm able to look at some of the old listings. I discovered that there were a lot of religious broadcasts, Sunday morning sort of morality play shows that were put on by the Catholic Church or the Episcopalian Church or various different ones. Just half-hour dramas, and you can find some of these will turn up on YouTube, and you'll realize that Gene Hackman and Carol Burnett and Martin Sheen are acting in these things.
Wow.
And you can yeah, and you can tell that they just did it for a day's work, or for whatever reason. But there's one episode of Insights, which is I think the Catholic one that's on YouTube now, where you get to see Martin Sheen playing a priest who is counseling Jan Brady, the
Awesome.
actress
Oh, wow.
Eve Plum who played Jan Brady. Yeah, and so all these things, they were lost forever until somebody found the reels or found the tapes rather at local TV stations and just started posting them. And that's crazy. There's a website called Lost Media Wiki where they go looking for lost episodes of this show and that show and things like that. And certainly we all know about things where they've people have had to try to hunt down episodes of Doctor Who from the day when they didn't keep them. And they've had to go all around the world to find these things. WKRP, which is on my list of probably the 5 or 6 best
Yes.
sitcoms ever.
I agree with that.
When they did the WKRP, the collection that they did for Shout, what do they call it?
Shout Factory.
Shout Studios or whatever it is. Shout Factory, that's it. Well, what they did was they went all around the world to try to find the original sound files when they could, and of course they weren't files, but they were just the soundtracks. And I remember speaking with somebody with Shout Factory who said, they actually found one of the clips that they used at a TV station someplace in Africa. I mean, where it was that's where they had to go to get one of the original files because again, in all the more recent ones, first of all they would cut all along they were cutting the episodes to add commercials, but of course also in all the more recent video releases, they were overdubbing the music because they didn't have the rights, and I think Shout Factory got something like 90% of the music cleared for this edition, and from everything I've heard, it is the definitive collection. There will never be a version that has more. But I kind of look at that as fun. I mean, it's like archaeology in a pop culture sense. Finding these old things, finding old bumpers, old sound checks for shows. Cutting room floor material.
It's funny
I
you say
actually
that.
was. Mhm.
I was just watching this week on YouTube. It's the satellite feed that would go out back like in the 70s and 80s of John Chancellor in like the 5 minutes before the NBC News would start. So
Oh
you'd see
wow.
him sit down adjusting his tie. You'd hear the floor director say, "How you doing, John?" He's like, "Great. How are you doing?" And they're cycling through the photos that would be coming up behind him and all of that, and they're talking, and then you would hear NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor, and then the tape would stop. But yeah, it was so interesting to see them preparing. And then there's a famous outtake that I was finally able to see of Jessica Savage. Do you remember her?
Oh my God, yeah,
Oh
she was
yeah,
murdered.
Golden Girl. Oh yeah.
Where
No,
she
she.
where she's
Yeah, go ahead.
she's yelling at the floor people because she doesn't have something, and then in the middle of it she stops and does her practice run without a clock and nails it exactly on the dot, and then goes right back to yelling at people. But it just shows how good she was at what she did, and it's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and oh, actually, yeah, Jessica died in a car accident,
Yeah, it was tragic.
and that, yeah, it was, and it was kind of a scandal at the time, and there's kind of, there's a whole section of it on, there's a section of it on certainly Wikipedia, but there was also, I think, a movie called
Almost
Golden
Golden.
Girl.
Almost Golden was the book.
Oh,
Yeah.
Almost Golden. That was it. That was it. Yeah. Uh, uh, I always fascinated by that kind of stuff and the behind the scenes stuff. And I know that NBC actually has a paid service that lets you in to see everything they've got. But I'm doubting even that has some of these these outtakes and clips like that. One of the things I was tickled to find here this last week, and again, this is just the crazy stuff that I look at 3 in the morning after I get done working. They've located some of the lost Sesame Street clips, and so there were a lot of clips that were taken out of circulation because for some reason they had complaints or Children's Television Workshop didn't took it out of curriculum. And so they didn't want these things out there anymore. But they're particularly the people in the Muppet community have really gone all out to find these clips. And apparently the only one that's still lost is no one has the episode where the Wicked Witch of the West, Margaret Hamilton, appears on Sesame Street in character, in costume. And it's actually a pretty frightening episode because she does some magical things. Relatively speaking, frightening, I guess. And so
John,
that one is
I
still
just put the
lost.
Jessica Savage thing in our chat room.
Oh, good. It's yeah, it was that was certainly a big deal back then. I think also the one where Snuffleupagus' parents got divorced. I think that also was taken out of circulation. Again, this is just all strange, stuff that is vaguely fascinating in one way or another to people who have watched a lot of TV.
Right on. It's something that's been going around. Television's been around forever, and there's so much that isn't constantly being syndicated or putting out there again. And I am kind of glad to see that some things are kind of being released in other ways to kind of sort of just keep that part of our history going.
And I think it really some of this stuff, the clock is ticking because it's on media that are going to decompose and vanish. One of the reasons that Jimmy Stewart back in the 80s was campaigning for this National Film Registry was to try to save all the old stuff that was on celluloid that was going to die. Well, we now have that same problem with videotape and stuff that's decaying. And I now have finally gotten a thing that'll allow me to dub from from VHS over to digital to try to save some of the few things that I've got that I think are either unique or that I just haven't seen elsewhere. One of my favorite little bits, and this also takes us back to the 80s and also to science fiction. who here is remembers the show Max Headroom?
Oh,
Yes.
of course.
The actual not the yeah, not the not the talk show series, but the adventure series.
Yeah.
Well, there was an episode called Wackets where everyone is hypnotized by a game show, and a building collapses in the cold open. In the opening, a building collapses, and Edison Carter rushes out to find everybody gathered around this hole in a disaster site, and everyone's acting like there's a child down there, and they pull up the survivor, and the survivor turns out to be a small television set, and everybody oohs and ahs because they've discovered this. Well, in my market, when that first aired, that came on immediately after they pulled the little girl out of the well.
Oh my God!
Do you remember that?
Ooh,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The
In
I
miracle,
do.
Arkansas.
what was it? Baby Jessica, or what,
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
whatever her name was, I think it was. Anyway, ABC had just done their live broadcast where they had pulled her out of the well that night, and they said, "We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming," and we go directly to the opening of Max Headroom with them pulling the with everybody gathered around this whole pulling up this TV set. And I remember thinking at the time that it was almost, magical how those two things landed together. And I've got them on videotape, but I think it's dying. I the last time I put it in any machine, the tracking was all blown up, and there would be no place else except somebody who had that on VHS, who was recording the series, that would have seen those two things or had those two things back to back, because even an ABC affiliate wouldn't have had those two things back to back. They would, they wouldn't have had that video. So, I'm going to try. I've got 3 or 4 VCRs around the house. Something's got to work to try to
Costco.
get this thing to run again. Yeah.
Costco.
Well, do they even have them there anymore? I mean,
Yeah, they
Go to
do.
a-
Yeah, you go there and they can still do the transfer stuff for you. They do
Or-
any media. Super 8 through Betamax.
The problem is the tape. The tape is just so old.
Oh.
It's 30 years old. So these things they lose enough of the whatever the sound line is on it.
Yeah.
That it starts to really the tracking goes crazy and the sound garbles, and you got nothing after a while.
Have you
Wow.
have you ever gone back and watched
I
the
am
old
trying to
commercials?
Oh yeah. Which ones?
Something struck me the other day. I was again, like YouTube at 2 o'clock in the morning is an insane thing because, I've joked that you start off looking up like an old news report, and 2 hours later you realize you're watching how to oil a chainsaw in Spanish. But
Oh yeah.
Ah, the rabbit hole.
yeah, but the old commercials, and Terry, I know you and Janet will remember this. The old like Playtex bra commercials where they wore the bra over the shirt.
Oh yeah. Of
Yes,
course.
that was
Hell yeah.
Jane Russell, the
Yeah.
famous actress. She was the spokeswoman. Yeah.
And you look now, and the Victoria's Secrets commercials now are like the porn from the '60s, or the old commercials where it's like, remember where they would give you a recipe for Jell-O? Pour the gelatin mold into the pan, add the cucumbers, chill, and then the little rapscallions are, this is so good. And ever since I was a kid, I've hated kids in commercials who think the food is the greatest thing in the world. Stop it! Nobody makes those faces.
Oh, that's great.
But old commercials are just so fun, and in the '50s, find ones where you can on YouTube from the '50s, where they were just learning how to use the medium of television, and you could tell the ones done by an ad firm that were used to dealing with print because there were a lot of words, and then the old Chevy ones that were almost all visual except for like the last 5 seconds, and commercials then were like 2 minutes long, where like the kid, he's getting a new car for prom or something, and it's just all visuals, and it's so interesting to look at how through the ages, the advertising on television, and then of course stuff that we all grew up with. Madge, uh, with
You're soaking in it.
you're
Palmolive.
soaking in it, or don't squeeze the Charmin, Mr. Whipple, or I can't believe I ate the whole thing. All of those were all so ingrained, and now you don't get ads. I occasionally now, like sometimes the Geico ads to me are really hilarious. As
Oh
much
yeah.
as I
Oh
hate
my
her,
God, the Dr. Pepper ad.
but
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just sent a link, and I can't put it into the general chat, but I don't know if you can see it.
I can do it.
oh, I'm
My
calling
my
it up.
my favorite commercial
Is this I'm a Pepper?
my favorite commercial ever. No, this is from the Dr. Pepper So Misunderstood bit, which is the early '70s. It is Dudley Do Right it's a Dudley Do Right parody. The actress is Carol Kane.
Yeah.
Carol Kane, later of Taxi, and it's probably my favorite commercial ever. The song is actually by Barry Manilow.
Yep.
Because Barry Manilow was doing jingles back in those days, and so. This commercial had been lost for years, and now we have 2 different copies of it. It's a minute long. When did they do commercials that were a minute long? I mean, that was a ways back.
Wow.
But I love the heck out of this thing, and so yeah, it is. It's playing the audio is probably not going to work because it's a silent movie bit. So you have to. It's all in the
But
video.
it's
and it's
the
all in
music
is
Carol
plays
Kane.
to
brilliant.
it. That's really cool.
Yeah, that
It's
is
all in Carol
brilliant.
Kane's crazy eyes. But
Yeah.
that one is something I waited for somebody to find on YouTube for 15 years. Because I first saw it in a Barry Manilow concert where he was doing a medley of
When
all
he
of
does
his
the medley of his ads.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he did everything. He did We're the Good Hands Bull. He did
Ironic.
you deserve a break today. All sorts of those things.
Yeah, well,
And
P.F.
you're asking
Dennis-
about commercials are not as memorable anymore. That was one of the things. I mean, they're just they don't do jingles anymore.
Right. Well, P.F. Dennis in our chat room just said David Naughton did Dr. Pepper too. And I was thinking of that. I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? And do you
Oh, yeah.
remember the ad for McDonald's with Big Mac Tonight, a parody of Mac the Knife,
Oh yeah, yeah.
with the moon
And,
playing the piano?
yes, and now that moon is actually turning up in some alt-right website things as a meme now. Everything
Ooh.
ends up. Oh yeah, that I discovered 2 days ago. Yeah, it's the Mac Tonight moon. And you wonder how the heck. I mean, how people dig these things up for these purposes, I just don't know. But yeah, that is a yeah. There are 4 memes. There,
And then there was remember
there's
the 7-Up with the half lime, half lemon, that
Oh, yeah.
feeling 7-Up.
oh yeah,
God, so
there's
I remember
amazing.
Jeffrey Holder
a
doing
lot.
7-Up.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's the Uncola. Yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that deep voice. I remember that guy. No, and that's another thing too. Watching the old TV shows. You certainly see a lot of actors in their first appearances or whatever. You see that as well in the commercials too. And yeah, I think that's always fascinating to me. One of the things that I love is just finding out the stuff that once you realize it, you'll never unhear it. You'll never be able to watch an episode without noticing it again. It's there all the time when you watch it from then on. One such one is if you've ever seen the pilot episode and the second episode of Frasier, which of course is our sequel series to Cheers, you will notice that there is, and it's particularly noticeable in the sequences in the apartment. where they're introducing Daphne, and where there's the second episode with Daphne there is a member of the audience who has a ridiculously high-pitched and loud laugh that is audible over everyone else. And
That was probably me.
you might think, no, it was Valerie Bertinelli.
Oh my God.
It was Valerie Bertinelli, who is best friends with Jane Leeves, and she went with her to the tapings for moral support. And she was so loud that everybody could hear her laugh, and it's so distinctive, you can't unhear it now.
Now I'm gonna have to watch again and listen for it.
Once you actually, it's the first 2 episodes. You can unhear it now that you've actually heard it.
Now, John,
and,
I just
and,
put in
and,
there.
you know,
I just put a link in our thing there where you can see it's called My 80s TV. It's
Oh,
all
yes.
clips from the 80s, and there's also a My 70s, including ads.
Well,
So-
one of my only disappointments with DirecTV, which is my satellite provider, is they don't let you see the sideband channels that the local networks have. So the local affiliates have. So I don't get MeTV, I don't get Antenna, I don't get any of those kind of networks. That are on that are on the hyphenated channels like 2-2, 2-3, or 2, whatever. And so that's actually one of my thrills when I am able to go on the road, is I've got other people's cable systems and I can see some of these other channels. Because people are always talking about, hey, are you watching that Antenna Marathon or something like that? And sorry, that's the one thing I've got 300 channels, but that's the one thing I don't have.
It's crazy. Well, we are coming up, unfortunately, on the end of this hour.
Mikey, do we have any donations this hour?
This hour, no, we did
So
not
the
get
prizes will
anything.
carry over.
Yep.
So John's book, the signed book, which again, for those who may not know, is the first book in the Star Trek Prey trilogy, book 1, Hell's Heart, by John Jackson and signed by John Jackson Miller. We thank you so much for getting that to us and supporting our show. And again, where can people follow you, get your books, get in touch with you, stuff like that?
Ask you for
Well,
money.
Oh,
Yeah.
plenty of places. I am on Twitter. I'm JJM Faraway. Facebook, it's just simply John Jackson Miller. On my website, it's farawaypress.com. I have a behind-the-scenes page on almost all of the stories that I've ever written: comics, novels, books. But I have, until recently, there's only really 3 or 4 books that I have not had notes up there for. One of them is Takedown, which is the Trek novel that I wrote last year. Those notes will be going up tomorrow, finally, and so that's
Nice.
chapter by
sweet.
chapter trivia. I had sworn I had sworn that I would get it up on farawaypress.com before the next set of novels went up. I'm gonna wait to do the ones for Prey until all 3 of those novels are out, and I have the questions that everybody's asked about them. I'll have those. Again, just really delighted with the response that those books have gotten. The first 2. I also don't have anything up yet for the first of the 2 Halo books that I've got out. I'm part of a Halo trilogy, or not Halo trilogy, but a Halo anthology. The prose one is already out. It's called Fractures, and I'm in that along with Christy Golden, who's familiar to
Oh, yes.
other
Nice.
folks in
Voyager,
Star
yeah.
Trek. And so Christy and I are both in that. That's available already from Simon and Schuster. I'm then also in the first comic that I've done in a long time. It's a Halo graphic novel. It's an anthology. Comes out next month from Dark Horse Comics. And that one is called Halo Tales from Slipspace. Then, of course, as I mentioned, we got Planet of the Apes coming out in January. And then I have several reprint collections coming out. my Mass Effect comics. All 3 of those graphic novels are coming out in an omnibus from Dark Horse. This is kind of funny. I have 3 books coming out on November 29th. 2 of them are, one of them is Halo. One of them is Mass Effect, and then another one is Star Trek Book 3 of the Prey series. And then I think Star Wars wise, I've got the collected edition of the middle third of my Knights of the Old Republic comic series. That's coming out in, I think, March from Marvel, and that's called the Star Trek Legends Epic Collection, The Old Republic.
Wow.
And I hope that's enough.
Holy crap, dude.
I just did
You're a busy guy.
I did a signing today. I did 4 hours at the comic shop Powers Comics in Green Bay, and we realized that I barely have enough table for all the books to go on. They had to get me a second table to get all the books on there.
Are you excited about Rogue One?
I am doing I am. We'll see how it goes. One of the problems that I had this last year was I was so hip deep in doing the Star Trek Prey trilogy that I was only able to see Episode 7 once, and I felt guilty getting out to see that because I was so immersed in what I had to do. Certainly I'll see it, and that's another thing where I'm keeping my passport available in case I need to go back to that universe. I do enjoy having the variety of working in multiple different universes, and hopefully I'll spend some more time working in my own ones as well. So I can have something to offer the next time somebody with TV comes along and says, "Hey, you like TV? We'd like to put your show on, or we'd like to put your series on." It would be nice if I actually owned something so that I could say yes.
Very cool.
Just
Very cool.
fantastic.
All right, so they can follow you on Twitter at JJM Faraway. JJM Faraway, and also your website again for everybody.
FarawayPress.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John, for joining us again. You're always welcome to stay with us if you wish, and we're just kind of kicking it for the next hour. We don't have a lot of things planned, so I was going to pull out the. We have some stuff to do, but I was going to pull out the trivia thing here pretty quick. What do you got, Mikey?
I have something.
Go, Mike. Go. Where is Ross?
I just wanted to mention real quick. I was going to add the prizes. 2 more stow ships. I'm starting to get tired. Wow.
Yeah.
I've added the Bentham Assault Cruiser Tier 6 lockbox ship and the Vaadwaur Azteca Heavy Battle Cruiser, also Tier 6 from the Low-Buy store.
And that's from Star Trek Online. That'll be given.
Yes.
I just want to point out, I just stood up.
Yeah.
And I don't have my chair anymore.
And you don't have your chair anymore.
Yes.
Who took it?
Moochie.
Oh, the cat.
The cat.
She jumped right in and took it over. She's been jumping up on the desk waiting for me to move so that she could sit, because evidently she sits in my chair all day when I'm at work.
Oh,
this is why I lock my cat out of the office.
I have to do the same thing with my girlfriend.
I didn't put her litter box in my office. Let me just say that.
I gotcha. What kind of trip?
I got the new Trivial Pursuit thing from it's in the Galileo, and I was going to do that.
Terry,
however,
set up the board. Ross, we can all.
I could do a little of that. If
we can all take a color.
All right. Well, we do need to take a break so we can do a tech reset. So if you don't mind hanging around, it'll be just a few minutes. Great.
All right, we'll be right back, lady. Oh, Steve, you got the music to play us out?
Music for the GNT show is provided by 5 Year Mission, Enterprise Blues Band, Warp 11, Andrew Allen, and Grethor. The GNT show is a BLB production.
Move ahead, walk back to 10.
storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to boldly go where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches. Our annual fundraiser marathon. Welcome to 24 Hours of GNT 2016.